Hello everybody. Today I'm at Bishopwearmouth Cemetery in Sunderland. I hadn't got plans for a video because it was a cloudy, cold Saturday morning, but I've just been for coffee with my daughter at there's a cafe just on the other side of that wall in the old cemetery lodge, and there's a garden centre next door, so I've just been there. The sun's come out, so I thought let's take advantage of the sunny weather and do a video. First thing you've seen, that looks like a Edwin Smythe memorial. So I just thought we'll have a walk and let's see what we see. We are right next to Chester Road in Sunderland. Never noticed this particular name before. Also her sister, Phila Green. Never come across that Christian name before. Phila. That's in loving memory of Sarah Graydon, who died November 6, 1932, aged 87 years. Never noticed this one before. I've walked past here loads of times. Never noticed it's a slate one. That the burial place of Captain John and Margaret Sanderson, in loving memory of James, the beloved son of the above, who died at Savannah. I think that's in the USA somewhere, Savannah. In loving memory of Anne Healy of Bury in Lancashire. She died 1887. We're just on the southern side of the cemetery. But older members might remember Blackett's department stores across the northeast, started off in Sunderland by Mr. William Blackett, a draper. Now this is his family burial section here. They owned several of these particular spots here, but I think it's only this one that was ever used. The children, most of the children died down on the south coast because they took over the business and ran it. But if you ever walk past here, also in loving memory of the above William Blackett, who died February the 2nd, 1879, and was interred in the Gill Cemetery. So he's not actually buried here, his wife is. He was buried in the family vault down at the Gill Cemetery in the centre of Bishopwearmouth in Sunderland. God knows why, because it was an absolute dump even by 1879. Consider this, what a beautiful spot this is. And look at this, William Walls, late of Blair Adam, that's Kinrossshire in Scotland, who died June the 3rd, 1887. From memory, I think he was a tailor. Memory of Jane Bampton. A few Scottish names as usual, and these more members of the Bampton family. There's Kyle, Mary Jane Nimmo Fletcher. I think Nimmo's Scottish. And that's in loving memory of Sarah, wife of John Featherstone, who died suddenly on February the 16th, 1887, in her 62nd year. Take ye heed, watch and pray, for ye not know when the time is. Memento mori. Remember, you must die. There's George Foreman, not the boxer. It's a huge cemetery. It's always good when somebody puts the address where somebody sadly passed away. In memory of Jane Lee, wife of Matthew Lee of Worcester, Turris, Bishopwearmouth. That is close to the Ivy House, or is that? I think the Ivy House is Worcester Turris actually. There's Emerson Beckwith. And there's a memory of Dixon Bulshaw, so possibly Dixon's a family surname that's being passed down. But that's the garden centre right next door, so if you ever go to the garden centre or the coffee, you can just pop round the corner and see loads of old Sunderland and Bishopwearmouth history. This looks like another one of, oh no, it's actually by Fry. This little memorial. Before the cemetery was extended, the cemetery actually only went up to close to this path up here, but even so it was still a huge place before the extension. And the wagon way, which I've done the video before, went through what is this car park now. This one also, John Eggers, father of the book, who died at sea on the Emigrant, December the 24th, 1852, aged 37 years. So he died before the cemetery was opened, and his name's been added on. It's a fine memorial. The Wake, members of the Wake family. I've never researched anybody on this particular stone, but the eldest daughter of Henry Haywake and Isabella Wake, who was born at Bishopwearmouth on the 4th of October 1876. So I always mention about the difference between Sunderland and Bishopwearmouth. So even as late as 1876, well, this headstone probably would have been put on well after 1876. So even decades or years later, they've remembered that it was Bishopwearmouth and not Sunderland that she was born. William Morgan Wake, who was born at Rotherhithe, Kent, 1812, and who died at Bishopwearmouth on the 23rd of April 1881. So he's probably the first person buried here. Again, Stresh and Bishopwearmouth. And then, a memorial of Mary Hodgson, wife of George Wilson of Greenhill, Selkirk, NB. That's another word for Scotland, sometimes called North Britain in Victorian times. Fine name, Leopold John Brown. The family was from Hilton House, South Hilton. That's for the members of the Rimmer family. Death is but the gateway unto life. There's just thousands of headstones in here, and obviously I've looked at a few of them, but only ever a small proportion. This would be one of the most desirable spots for the family, because obviously the person being buried wouldn't want to be here. For what is your life? It is even a vapour that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. Quite deep. That's for members of the Little family, good Scottish name. Sadly, I've mentioned that one before. It's fallen down. It's a beautiful headstone for William Kelman, a Scottish man who raised lots of money for local organisations back in the 1800s. Died up at Edinburgh, and then he came back to Sunderland to be buried. But this footpath down to the Southern Cemetery track, this is where lots of the grand members of Sunderland and Bishopwearmouth site were buried. Look at these, look at the railings on that. Most of them have been taken down, but there's still a few in the cemetery which have got them. So if you ever come through here, even if you just stick to the path, that's a lovely walk around the chapel there. This is a listed monument, this. It's actually for one of the sons of Cuthbert Vaux, the brewer, one of the few of his children who actually reached adulthood. This is also a listed monument, and that's for John Bolam. It's a grand tomb. But I'm just going to show you a couple of works of Edwin Smile. That's another Edwin Smythe one. I sleep but my heart waketh. Song of Songs. As we're moving at that era, there's lots of Edwin Smythe memorials around this particular section from like the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Just have a look around, see if I can spot them. This one is stunning, look at that. To the memory of Anne Sophia Pruitt, for 13 years Superintendent of the Union Hospital, born 9th of September 1860, died 9th of October 1910. And that was erected by officials, nurses and friends. That Union Hospital is on the site of the current one, just down the road, half a mile away. I'm trying to see, there's some grand. Look at this, another Edwin Smythe mosaic styled one, sacred to the memory of George Shaw, Master Mariner. I've seen a Commonwealth Graves one somewhere around here. Let's have a look for that. Oh, here. This is 2nd Lieutenant G.H. Carter, Royal Field Artillery, 18th of November 1915. So he's actually buried here. And then we've got another Carter. And then we've got another Carter one, so probably all related. James Ogilvy Carter, a test pilot. Killed on flying duty in Australia, 15th of January 1943, age 32, per Adua ad Astra. Another memory of William Haley of Belford, I think that's up Northumberland. It's a bit noisy because we're right next to Chester Road. Endure as seeing him who is invisible. That's Georgina Baxter, and it also mentions it Drina Baxter. This is another mosaic one, but I don't think that's Edwin Smythe's, possibly a Borrowdale one. Yeah, Borrowdale Brothers, it's on the mentioned at the bottom. And probably one of the favourite epitaphs of any memorial at Bishopwearmouth is this one here. So it's in loving memory of Cara, the dear daughter of Ralph T and Caroline R. Knox, who fell asleep 30th of November 1915 in her 16th year. But the epitaph is, who plucketh that flower? I, said the master, the flowers are mine, may I not take the best? And the gardener was silent. Ralph Knox was a alderman, like councillor, and he also had like a carrier business, like removals and things like that, set up by his father. His father had come from up in Berwickshire down to Sunderland and settled. But look, it just goes on and on and on. It's a fine name. John James King Green, Arrowsmith, Blakey, Laurie, Ogilvy, Hurst, Wanless, Mariners, shopkeepers. And I've just been there and I didn't look up and show you this. That huge Celtic cross, the size of that. I'm not looking who it's for actually. Beloved wife of Jennison Taylor. Absolutely huge memorial. What we'll do, we've got a couple of minutes left. I'll just walk along one of the main paths. I've forgotten how many acres this particular spot is. I think it is the biggest Sunderland cemetery. Wigshill. And that one, at the top of that monument's coming off. It's Elliot family of Roker. But this one is the biggest memorial in all of Bishopwearmouth, possibly even Sunderland. Again, this is a listed building. I've showed the class as listed monuments buildings. 4 of the listed monuments are around this area. I've shown you 2, and then there's this one. This is for members of like the Webster family. The size of that disappearing up there is absolutely huge. God knows how they got up that or up there. Look at that. Think of it. The Malin Webster family of Pallion Hall, County Durham. Look at that. You see it there, look at that anchor. And anybody who saw me story I did across Sunderland history and Sunderland history memory this week about called Death in the Morning. This is the monument. So it's the Tone family, and it mentions, has it gone? I should know. The mother had the same surname as me, Emerson, and was from where my granddad was from. So Elizabeth died, I think that's the 20th of March, was it 1890 something? But on that morning, the doctor told all the daughters that the mother wasn't going to make it. But sadly, Laura went into the other room, took some poison and killed herself. So her mother and daughter both, the mother died the same morning, and sadly they were both buried on the same day at the same spot. But it's a huge, look at the size of this, built into the side of here. Be a huge brick grave in there. And I'll just show you this name. I'll do this guy as a separate video in the future as a story. Charles de Gally Lamotte, MD. So he was a doctor, but what an interesting life. Sadly, we're at the sad end. He died at a lunatic asylum over at Dalton, but his father was nearly executed in the French, I think it was the French Revolution, or something along those lines. Well, that's me done. I'm off now, so thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.